Hello, this is Thomas Hudson with the Talking Veteran Radio Network. I want to thank you for listening in. And here's some information that is very important. It's what goes behind the scenes when a veteran or family member calls in to a local VA. The Veterans Affairs Department has nationwide gone to call centers. So you might call someone up and they might not even be in the hospital or even in the same city. And so they develop call centers. One of the things you might not know and you need to know what goes on behind the scenes at these call centers and why is it very important and why does it involve issues that I consider safety and confidentiality. So instead of calling the hospital and you're going to get an operator and say, would you transfer me to this clinic? They don't do that no more. They transfer you to a call center. Those people take the calls, make the appointments, cancel appointments, and even send a message to your doctor. And a lot of these call centers, especially big cities, they have a huge turnover rate. Some of them, like here in the eastern Oklahoma VA healthcare system, they have a much lower rate for employment. What a lot of people might not realize is that they don't work in the clinic. But yet in this phone call, you're going to hear at some point where I did talk to one of these employees in the call center. And the first thing he stated when I asked, is this the silver team? And he says, yes. No, he's not in no silver team. And I knew he was going to be lying. I'm very much aware of silver team. That's where oncology is. There's 2 female clerks. Unless they change overnight, there's not a male there. So I really had a suspicion. And then we had a discussion, and it was recorded. And then you'll hear the supervisor when I called back, and she was very nice. She's also a veteran, served in the Army, and she took notes as to what was wrong and what needed to be corrected, and the fact that they've had some complaints about this particular person anyway. The concern about safety and privacy is this. These call centers have complete access to your medical record. How many of you veterans ever heard the cliche sentence, need to know? What do they have a need to know? I thought they're just simply there to schedule or cancel appointments, maybe send a message to your doctor. Why do they need to have complete access to my medical records? This is where the concern comes in. And I explained to the supervisor something that personally happened to me more than 10 years ago, but maybe 10. So anyway, how people can get into your medical records that work for the VA because they think they have a privilege to do anything they want. When you got an employee at a VA regional center that got upset with a veteran because he's upset with another veteran and gets on Facebook and basically announces where she works and she's trashing him on Facebook. A lot of companies and corporations now are incorporating rules where if you work for this company, you're not going to get on social media and trash employees of this company or the company itself. And they do now have to hire people simply just to monitor social media. It's something that's ever growing. It's becoming a problem, an issue, and stuff like that. I've had information that was very confidential that ended up on social media. So I'm very conscious about the security and the safety. Now, yes, you could say they've been trained. How much training? Well, there's a lot of people that have had training, but if they hadn't changed their attitudes, their personality, or things of human nature, you can get all the training you want. You could try to brainwash them all you want. This is the way it's going to be done. Sometimes when you're not around watching, they'll do it another way. And that's what happens in this scenario, in this rest of this discussion about calling in to a VA. Remember, when you call in, they're going to ask for your social. They're going to have to verify who you are. They're going to have things like your address or birthday and stuff like that, your phone number, to verify who you are. But I don't think that should give them the right to go and complete access of all of my medical records. And because if you get someone upset that has a friend that works in those call centers, yeah, even though they have to sign confidentiality agreements and all that, things do happen, and they have happened. So we as veterans, as patients, we have to also have a vigilant understanding of how the system works. And if you have any suspicions at all, there is ways to go about seeking out the right people that can make a change or a difference, because this is serious business. I mean, you veterans remember years ago when the VA, they've been hacked in several times since then, their computers. You remember when they used to put our complete Social Security number on our ID cards? Yeah, they took those off after a major security hack into the veterans' computer system, and they stole, I think it was 400,000 names and their Social Security numbers and things like that. Privacy is extremely important. Now, you will hear me also talking about, with this supervisor, about HIPAA. HIPAA stands for Health Insurance Portability Act of 1996. It doesn't stand for Healthcare Information Privacy Act or anything like that. HIPAA only has 4 letters, HIPA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. As discussed in our conversation, I remind them that the VA voluntarily complies with HIPAA. Otherwise, they don't have to, because they're the federal government. However, she explains, and she's absolutely correct, because of filing insurance claims, they do have to comply with HIPAA, because you're getting into a whole different area. And I'm going to use another example how the federal government can be exempt from that. Several years ago, probably about 8 years ago, the VA announced that they are beginning to share information of veterans who have weapons to the FBI and Department of Homeland Security. Now, what gives them the right to share that? That's confidentiality. If it's in all your medical records. Ladies and gentlemen, get real. This is the federal government. They can do what they want. And they're doing it in that particular situation. And that's a topic for another day, because I have talked to many, many people in the law enforcement industry. And they're wonderful people. But a lot of police officers that are veterans, they really don't want to have anything to do with the VA. And here's why. If you have a situation, you upset a social worker or somewhere else, and they put in a computer system, and then all of a sudden, they decide to give you 75% PTSD. If you have over 50% PTSD rating, you will not hold a professional license. You will not work as a police officer. You will not work as a doctor. And that has happened if they find out you're a whistleblower. Crucify you by raising your PTSD level up. So anyway, I want you to listen. Be very conscious when you do call in the VA. You're talking to people sitting at a computer and a phone taking calls all day long. They're not interacting with the veterans in the hospital. They're or seeing you in the hallway. They're working in a call center. And that's a very important and valuable place to be employed and have going. But you get down to privacy, safety, and then here's the other thing. Every once in a while, you come across one of these federal employees think they could talk to veterans any way they want to. And then when this guy does claim he's a veteran, when asked, this is where I get to the place. I don't care if you're a veteran or whoever you are. That just should mean that you talk to other veterans who have a lot more respect and dignity if you are a real veteran. But customer service is very, very important. The way we interact with each other. And it goes both ways. Veterans who are just completely out of control, they need to take a time out and understand that perhaps people are just doing their job and it's just beyond them. And they don't deserve the four-letter words or things of that nature. But there's also a time to stand up and say, this is wrong. And that is what I did and told this person, the way you talk to me, you should not be working in the VA center. Listen on, and thank you again for listening on the Talking Veteran Radio Network.
Welcome to the Eastern Oklahoma VA healthcare system in Muskogee. If you are having
577-3824. VA Upper help you?
Yes, are you the operator? I mean, are you located in the hospital or are you in Tulsa? Because I need some info.
I'm in the hospital.
Okay, do you have any idea of who is over that call center in Tulsa that these people talk to? You would not believe the way this person talked to me a while ago.
Did you get her name?
I got his name. I even got it recorded. It is totally ridiculous. And then when I asked to speak to his supervisor, it's going to be about 30 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever he said, and he got really belligerent. And I was wanting to get information about my oncologist. That's all I wanted.
Hold on just a second. Do you know who's over the call center? It's Kim. What's her name? No, it ain't her.
I'll try to find out, but I was told yesterday that I was being transferred to another oncologist in the silver team, and no one's called me yet. I just simply wanted to know, because it's my understanding there's only 2 oncologists up there. Who is the oncologist I'm going to? In other words, what name? I used to have Dr. K.
Unfortunately, I can't get in your charter. I would.
Is there any way?
Let me try to get a hold of their supervisor, okay?
Who's supervisor?
The people that you talk to.
Well, okay, before you do that, is it possible to transfer me to the silver team directly without having to go through a call center?
It's not. I would, but the phones went off at 4:00 and they'll reopen at 8.
Oh my word! Where'd this day go?
I'm sorry.
No, it's my fault. I should have checked the time. So.
But do you want to turn him in?
I just want someone to, would you like, if you had time, since it's after 4, would you like to hear the recording?
Well, she probably would.
Are you a veteran?
I work for police dispatch in
Oh,
Muskogee.
oh,
And after 4 o'clock, all the phones roll over to us.
I did not know that.
That's okay. We just try to help, the veterans.
Well, let me say this, and I'm more likely, I've met you in the house. I remember, in fact, I think I did, because you remember a guy asking, and I can't think of his name, the real tall guy that was a dispatcher?
Uh-huh.
That if you're the one that I was asking about that's me. And I remember when he was in housekeeping, and I remember
Yes.
the time I was in the hospital for 6 weeks, and then they transferred me to Denver VA and back and all that. And I remember when he told me in the hallway he's working in dispatch, I said, "Good for you." So
Yeah. He moved to Oklahoma City.
yeah, I remember you telling me that. This just what 2 or 3 weeks ago I saw you walking out there in that cold, but I feel sorry for him now. Oklahoma City, that's like me going back to Houston, Texas, in my opinion. So anyway, I was just, it's frustrating. I was told from this call yesterday morning that I was being transferred to another oncologist, and someone was supposed to call me. No one ever did, and here it's.
Okay. Well, let me try. Let me see if she answers the phone. You don't hang up, because I'm gonna stay on the line. Okay?
Thank you.
Your appointment 48 hours before your visit, so we can give your time to another veteran.
The medical center is in need of volunteers to help transport patients within the hospital, make reminder calls, and work at the main information desk. If you are interested, please contact Booner Gray at 918-577-3621.
Have you signed up for My Healthy Vet? My Healthy Vet is an online program that allows you to refill your prescriptions and check your appointments. If you register for in-person authentication, you can even communicate with your provider online. Register at www.myhealth.va.gov. For more information, call 918-577-3824. Sir, are you still with me?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you for calling the Eastern Oklahoma VA Healthcare System. Please stay on the line. Someone will be with you shortly.
If you are a veteran having stress, emotional crisis, or thoughts of harm,
Hello, this is Sarah. Can I help you?
And Sarah, my name is Thomas Hudson, and who are you? Because I've been transferred to so many people.
I am one of the supervisors at the call center.
Very good. Now, I normally don't like to get into the usual ideal of going through all the trouble of making a complaint. But however, there is times that we have to, that's what makes the system better. Sometimes we have, no matter what part in life, sometimes it just requires better training.
Yes.
So I would like for you, if you would, before I say this, one of the things I always preach over the years, it's an old cliche, don't judge a book by its cover. That is one of the biggest mistakes, and it doesn't matter if it's the VA or a civilian hospital, that people make. Because when you go in a hospital, you all look the same. And so sometimes the arrogance of people does not differentiate, like employment status, education, or anything like that. So sometimes you run across people that needs a little more training in customer skills. Now, do you mind me asking, do you mind me asking you about a policy? It's sort of off the subject, then I'll go back to this. because this is of a concern to me, and I've thought about it, and I've heard, people in your call center explain. In other words, when I call the call center or call the phone number in Muskogee, and it goes to a call center in Tulsa, why in the world do they have full access to my medical records?
Well, that's the way it's set up. It's not a national mandate. All of our VAs are using call centers now.
I realize that, but you're aware of them having access to the full medical records.
Yes, and all of us are trained and required to sign a statement mandating that we are to keep that absolutely private. It is under the HIPAA and the Privacy Act of 1974 and also the HIPAA Act. So we all get extensive training, both when we're hired and every year, about what we are and are not allowed to talk about or access and things like that. So there's nothing in your medical record that is not covered by that we are allowed to access. If we're allowed to access it, then it's covered by all of that training and those documents that we have to sign. And then we take when we start here, we take an oath also that we're going to uphold all of those policies. So,
do you mind me asking, forgive my ignorance, what does HIPAA stand for?
Health information, portability, what is it? Health information.
Accountability?
Portability and Accountability Act, yes.
I'm very impressed. Like, for instance, nurses, they take a test on it in school, then they forget it. And even working with EEOC officers, I've heard one come up with Health Information Privacy Act. Excuse me, it stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. Now, in that particular act, actually the VA, the federal government, is exempt from it. The VA only complies with it because of volunteer reasons. Now, here's the reason why I want to ask you about.
It's also so that we have the accessibility to bill other health insurances. We have to comply with that,
right?
Or we wouldn't be able to bill them.
And that's true. That's what mandates it, and why the VA has to voluntarily comply with it because of those kind of issues. But here's the issue that I have. And this is one of the things I used to do. And for instance, like, this thing about nationals does this or mandated that, that tells veterans organizations who to talk to. We need some things changed. Because there was a case with me personally, and this has come up over the years with other people. I was in the hospital, VA hospital in Houston for 3 days. I only lived 3 blocks from the hospital, and I get home in that apartment that I moved into. It had nothing but primary medical students and all that stuff. I get home and my window had been broke and was broken into, and there comes 2 guys out of my bedroom window running down the sidewalk. Well,
Sorry to hear that.
Well, the police eventually found out who they were. And they happened to be the boyfriends of the 2 girls in nursing school next door to me. Well, all of a sudden, they didn't get so sweet anymore because they wanted me to drop all charges. And I told them, I'm sorry, the state picks this up. And there's a point to this. And, you don't have to be around. And it got really out of hand. These nutcases were even texting me. You don't think I know how to save text? Well, she made a comment. This one would send me texts and all that kind of stuff. And they were threatening to call the hotline for veterans, tell them I'm cuckoo and all that kind of stuff. And then this went on for days. And then there was a comment, we've got people that work at the VA too. And then one day, the following week, I went back to the VA and I went to a doctor in mental health and I showed him a text. And that text had exactly what I said in basically a paragraph that only that doctor knew about. But it went in the medical records. Privacy officer for that hospital put some kind of flag or something on there, and then eventually, about 3 months later, they discovered it was a CNA in another part of the hospital that I had no clue of that was accessing my medical records. And that's why we've always preached, one, the need to know, and also to access clinicians, non-clinicians. So in a call center where you have basically a high turnover rate,
no, we don't really have a high turnover rate.
Not there in Tulsa? Because a lot of places do, but anyway.
No, we don't. We don't have a high turnover rate. Now, we're somewhat of a young call center, and so
right.
About half of those that met their 1 year here were promoted on to other places here in the hospital. But as far as turnover leaving the call center or leaving the VA, no, we don't.
Just one last thing about that subject. This about a year or so ago, there was an employee at the VA Regional Center. And of course, y'all don't have anything to do with them. That's separate entities. She was posting stuff on Facebook about another veteran. But yet she blatantly had to announce who she worked for. Whoa. Mm-hmm. That's why all these companies now are getting it. Anyway, I'm going to try to stick this phone up. And because this has been really a nightmare trying to find. Now it's after 4 o'clock. So you may have to listen carefully here.
Okay.
Oops. Yeah. I thought it was a different name, someone from India or something. I did have Dr. K. Is there any way you can look in my records about any mention about switching doctors? Because I had a call yesterday about that.
Okay, just a second. You were not wanting to switch, or you are?
I was trying to figure out. This was all out of the blue for me. And a patient advocate called me, and without me asking her, and she was really rude, and that's all she would say was that I was being switched to another oncologist. And so I thought the other oncologist I thought it was that man, he's from India also. I was trying to, because that woman said somebody's going to call me about an appointment. Well, here's the thing about it, no one's called, and I don't even know the doctor she was talking about. And that gets into really poor service.
I don't see anything about switching.
Okay, do you see my appointment still at the 19th?
Your eye appointment or your primary care appointment?
I didn't know anything about an eye appointment. What about an oncology appointment or anything like that?
I'm not showing one.
Well, since you're in there, do you show appointment the 19th with urology?
No.
No.
Nope, I sure don't.
I got a letter to come back December the 19th for for urology to, they're going to do an ultrasound to size up my prostate, and there's possibly going to be surgery.
Okay, what's your last name and last four of your social?
Hudson, Hudson, 6985.
And can I get your date of birth, please?
10/26/1952.
Okay, let me do some more looking here. Okay, yeah, I do have an appointment 12/19 with urology.
Okay, you scared me for a minute.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you definitely don't show anything about switching oncologists.
Let me keep on looking.
And by the way, this Dr. Ford, what's his first name? I mean, what does he go by? Like,
I have no idea.
you mean you don't have in your records as to what doctors work in your clinic?
Sir, there's probably 300 doctors. I have no idea.
Now, this brings me to a point because you just said 300 doctors. Where in the world are you?
I'm in Tulsa.
You know, I thought so because the Silver Team has two women that do clerk, but you told me that this is the Silver Team when I was transferred.
I work for the Silver Team.
Yeah, but you should have been honest and said you work in that call center with a lot of people in Tulsa.
Okay, I don't have time for this.
I know. May I speak to your supervisor, please? Your supervisor.
Sure.
Thank you.
It'll be about 15 minutes.
And you might want to look at walkingveteran.com and find out a little bit more about me, and you might change your attitude.
I've done some reading, and I don't think I would. Yeah, I don't have any opinion on you at all, sir.
You done some reading.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen that website?
No, I've just done a little bit of reading in your chart, and I have no opinion on you.
I hope you don't believe everything, but I'm telling you, you might want to look at that website because that you're
website, and I have.
I
no
know this is the reason. This is the reason why. This is the reason why you have very poor customer service skills, and you should not be working in a VA call center.
Okay.
And do you mind if I get your name?
My name's Tom Durham.
Tom Durham. Okay. Are you a veteran by any chance?
Yes, I am.
And you talk to veterans like you just do? Because
Okay,
I can
sir,
help you
I'm
get training for customer service skills within the VA. And
Okay, I'm not going to sit here.
I'm sitting down. You're the one that continues on being rude, a lack of customer service, and this is why President Trump set a White House VA hotline for people that talk to people just like you do.
Okay.
By the way,
Go
you're
ahead.
going to be on the Talking Veteran Radio show because you are being recorded right now. And I do want to thank you for this insight for this call center. And you have access to my pool records and you talk to me like you just did. Whoa.
Okay, I'm not going to be.
Hey, be sure to look at that website and look up Talking Veteran Radio Network. Thank you very much and have a good and safe holiday.
VA Counseling Clinic, this is Tom. How may I help you?
Is this the Silver Clinic?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm just gonna let you answer. There's two oncologists, not Dr. K, but the other oncologist, what's his name?
Just a second. Hey, sir. Dr. Court, who's the other oncologist? Is it Ford? Is it Dr. Ford and Dr. Court? Oncologist? Okay. It's Dr. Ford. Hello?
Yes.
Dr. Ford.
Are you saying Ford like as in a Ford car?
No. Yeah, Ford.
Like a Ford car?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a different name, someone from India or something. I did have Dr. K. Is there any way you can look in my records about any mention about switching doctors? Because I had a call yesterday about that.
Okay, just a second. Are you you were not wanting to switch, or you are?
I was trying to figure out, this was all out of the blue for me, and a patient admin called me, and without me asking her, she was really rude, and that's all she would say was that I was being switched to another oncologist. And so I thought the other oncologist I thought it was that man, he's from India also. I was trying to, because that woman said somebody's going to call me about an appointment. Well, here's the thing about it, no one called, and I don't even know the doctor she was talking about. And that gets into really poor service.
I don't see anything about switching.
Okay, do you see my appointment still at the 19th?
Your eye appointment or your primary care appointment?
I didn't know we didn't think about an eye appointment. What about an oncology appointment or anything like that?
I'm not showing one.
Well, since you're in there, do you show appointment the 19th with urology?
No.
No.
Nope, I sure don't.
I got a letter to come back December the 19th for urology they're going to do an ultrasound to size up my prostate, and there's possibly going to be surgery.
Okay, what's your last name and last four of your social?
Hudson, Hudson, 6985.
And can I get your date of birth, please?
10/26/1952.
Okay, let me do some more looking here. Okay, yeah, I do have an appointment 12/19 with urology.
Okay, you scared me for a minute.
Yeah.
But you definitely don't show anything about switching oncologists.
Let me keep on looking.
By the way, this Dr. Ford, what's his first name? I mean, what does he go by?
I have no idea.
You mean you don't have in your records as to what doctors work in your clinic?
There's probably 300 doctors. I have no idea.
Now, this brings me to a point because you just said 300 doctors. Where in the world are you?
I'm in Tulsa.
You know, I thought so because the silver team has 2 women that do court, but you told me that this is the silver team when I was transferred.
I work for the silver team.
Yeah, but you should have been honest and said you work in that call center with a lot of people in Tulsa.
Okay, I don't have time for this.
I know. May I speak to your supervisor, please? Your supervisor.
Sure.
Thank you.
It'll be about 15 minutes.
And you might want to look at walkingveteran.com and find out a little bit more about me, and you might change your attitude.
I've done some reading, and I don't think I would. Yeah, I don't have any opinion on you at all, sir.
You've done some reading. Have you seen that website?
No, I've just done a little bit of reading in your chart, and I have no opinion on you.
I hope you don't believe everything, but I'm telling you, you might want to look at that website because that
I will not look at that website, and I have.
I
no
know
opinion
this is the
on you.
reason. This is the
If you would like
reason
to
why.
hang on.
This is the reason why you have very poor customer service skills, and you should not be working in the VA call center.
Okay.
And do you mind if I get your name?
My name's Tom Durham.
Tom Durham. Okay. Are you a veteran by any chance?
Yes, I am.
And you talk to veterans like you just do? Because I can help you get training for customer service skills within the VA. And
Okay, I'm not going to sit here.
I'm sitting down. You're the one that continues on being rude, a lack of customer service, and this is why President Trump set up White House VA hotline for people to talk to people just like you do. By the way, you're going to be on the Talking Veteran radio show because you are being recorded right now, and I do want to thank you for this insight for this call center. You have access to my full records, and you talk to me like you just did. Whoa.
Okay, I'm not going to be.
Hey, be sure to look at that website. Look up Talking Veteran Radio Network. Thank you very much, and have a good and safe holiday. Hello?
Yes, sir.
I just want to bring out 2 or 3 points. Number 1, all I wanted to do, the whole purpose of even making a call was to find out who the other oncologist was, because I haven't got a call yet about appointment. And there's only 2 oncologists in that clinic. One is Dr. K, that's short for her, and they're both from India. The other thing is, I was told I was being transferred to Silver Team. So I assumed, and I was a little confused because there's usually just 2 women sit up there at the clerks. And then and I got my suspicion up. And of course, when he wanted to come out, there's 300 doctors. He's not talking about no Silver Team. Silver Team has several specialties in it. And then he also acknowledged he's been doing some reading. What's he been reading? And all I wanted, people are going to go off. I am not one of those people that are going to get so upset that I don't have a need to use 4-letter words like some people I know. And please forgive me for being ostentatious, but I actually went to school one day. But do you get my point? The sense of customer service begins. The ambassador. If you go down to that, I call it God-forsaken place where I grew up, Houston, Texas.
I've lived there before.
You did?
Yes.
Did you work at the VA?
No, not the VA. I work downtown at the medical center, St. Luke's Medical Tower.
Wow, I've been in that hospital before. But that's interesting, because when you try to explain to someone that's never been to Houston about the world's largest medical center, they think you're talking about one hospital building.
Yeah.
No, that's another downtown Houston. You see, actually,
it's like the mile of cars down in Norman, right?
Yeah.
It's the hospital center down there. Yeah.
So I forgot what I was even saying. I'm worn out. I noticed cancer.
several things. I noticed several things that Tom Durham did, and we've had a couple issues with him before. I noticed several things that he did. For one, he didn't even get your name and social security number right off the bat, so I'm not sure whose record he was looking at. But also, he shouldn't have spoke to you like that. And we have covered this in our, we have huddles every day. We've covered that. We should never say that we're in the clinic, but that we take all the calls for the clinic so that the doctors and the team up there do not get interrupted while they're dealing with patients. So I'll definitely talk to him about that.
The other thing, if you notice that one thing was said, instead of asking for my social last name up front, he led me to believe that he's already got information. And then this thing about this appointment, I was actually getting very concerned, because this urology thing, they're supposed to be testing for a surgery. And I was in the hospital, 2 weeks ago, but anyway, and then I'm supposed to, I just wanted to verify who's the other oncologist, so I can make sure that I still go to chemo and stuff like that. So it was only until I pressed on that he decided, let me ask you for your social, and then all of a sudden he finds that. I want to tell you, and I want to assure you,